Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jero. I'm going to be your host for this webinar. Welcome to, I think it's the third, if not or the fourth webinar of our series for Horizon Europe. I'm going to be your host for this webinar, which is about database economy. Because we are using a tool which is working only on webinar, I'm not sure if you can hear me or if you can just hear what I'm saying. So can I ask you to look at the chat sections on your right part of your screen and just write a little message to me to say that you can hear me well, and that perfect. Thank you very much. Well, it's a pleasure to see you all. I see the list of people that have registered. It's many people from a list and the university. Doesn't mean the other are not welcome, but it's a pleasure to meet you online again, all and everyone. So we have a challenging task in front of us. So what I can tell you is that get a coffee, get water, get ready, and just sit and relax, because it's going to be a long voyage. Allow me just to make some small remark first about the online etiquette. You have on your right two tabs. Actually, you have three tabs. One where you can see the people connected, and you can see and two others. If you have any specific questions, please come and write this here, because it's going to work like for Slido. People can come and like again your questions, and I can see them appearing. And if you want to set for the chat, just write here on the chat sections, just say hello to the people or introduce yourself. Just a quick word, because this is part of our of who we are. You have in this slide the different services that Lux Innovation is offering. As most of you know me, I'm the national contact point for Luxembourg, in charge of the digital thematics. And a part of our services is to help you just to find the right opportunity for you. When it comes from the database economy, it's kind of a challenging situation, and you're going to see that in a minute. Well, not in a minute, but in the next hour, about how complicated it can be. So obviously, database economy is large, it's broad, and therefore it is in very different and multiple places, which makes the task difficult for me to select the topics, but it's also difficult for me to explain it to you. Oh, I've got a message saying that my slide has disappeared. So let me try to solve that for you. I think that should be back now. Can you please just confirm that? Can somebody just quickly write in the chat? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on. So, a general disclaimer that I must ask you to remember during the entire discussion we're about to have. Everything is still a draft. The topics are converging. It's getting less and less unknown, but everything can still change. We're still having negotiations, at least 2 rounds of negotiation with the European Commissions. To be honest, today we were having just a shadow committees with the European Commission regarding the cluster 4 work programs, regarding just the one related on digital. So I cannot guarantee you 100% that what I'm going to present you will not change or modify or be still existing in the coming months. But you might wonder why we decide to do this webinar in those conditions. Well, because we see that for some of the topics, specifically the digital topics, you need to start well in advance. Despite we didn't know yet at that time when they're going to be the deadlines, we saw at European level in the ecosystems that I'm going to mention during my presentation, we saw people already starting to work on consortium or to work on proposals. Therefore, it came to us as an obvious thing to do to inform our community, to inform you of the opportunities as they exist at the moment. Yes, they might change, but if you already start to network, this is going to be the first step toward the building proposal. If you start already to network, at least you have a knowledge about what's going on. And even if you are in a consortium, you might end up in a consortium whose topic might change, you can more easily evolve then. We know also, for example, in some other thematics, which we're going to be very competitive, like, for example, security, cluster 3, we have some key stakeholders in Europe who said we will close our consortium at the end of December 2020. So for some of those topics, you can still participate, of course, but the good stakeholders, the key partners are already over. So everything is still a draft. Everything can change, but please start to mobilize yourself. And that's what we're going to do now. So I would like to remind this, for those of you who attended our webinar beginning of December, we gave at the end of the webinar, we gave 3 big advice to deal with Horizon Europe. And so I'd like to start this webinar by restating them. 1, start early. In relation with what I just said, some consortium are already closed. It's not the case yet for digital topics, but it will come very soon. 2, even more than for Horizon 2020, you need to network, and you need to network good, meaning that the competitions will increase drastically. So to increase your chance to be funded, you need to be with the right people at Europe, and that takes time. You might not know yet what will be the extent of your activities inside a project, but you need to plug with the right people. So you need to network. That's the number 2. And number 3, you need to broaden your horizon. So this is a kind of a word joke, a pun regarding Horizon Europe. But the idea is that because the heart of Horizon Europe is based on synergies, some of the activities that you are interested to do might not be only in what I'm about to present you. What you want to do might be somewhere else. What might be in a different program, the Digital European program, the Connecting European Facilities, can be in a different clusters, can be in a different structure of Horizon Europe. So what I'm going to show you today is a selected sample. It's arbitrary selected sample regarding to database economy, but you might need to broaden your horizon to find the perfect synergy. And for that, I can help. We can help in Lux Innovations, but this will need an individual and customized approach. This cannot be done at the level of a webinar like this. So, if we remember the structure of Horizon Europe, in way to broaden your horizon, this is a repetition of what we said at our webinars in December, so at the beginning of December. You have different levels of structure. This is a coherent point of view from the Commission. Doesn't mean it is for you, but it is from the Commission standpoint. You've got the key strategic objectives. You should always remember that the entire work programs are supposed to answer those 4 key strategic objectives. You have 10 impact areas, and you need to remember that you're going to need to address them. And then you're going to have inside the work package, you're going to have destinations. And that's the basic structure of the work program. I'll describe them in the next slide, but I need you to remember that I'm going to talk about destinations, which actually is some sort of chapters inside the work programs. As sub-chapter, you have what they call the sections. And then finally, after you have the topics. And just to mention the cluster 4 topic, it's 189 topics for 2021 and 2022. That represents 442 pages. And I'm sorry to tell you that, but I will need your help at one moment for you to go in those 442 pages, not to read them all, obviously, but at least to reread the topic that we have identified together, or that you have yourself identified, to clearly understand and to go more in depth about the discussion. I'm going to repeat it also after, but the only thing we're going to do today is scratching the surface. So you have in this slide the six destinations of cluster 4. The first one, climate neutral, circular and digitized production. This is more industry oriented. The second one, increased autonomy in key strategic value chain for resilient industry. This is also more industry oriented. Also, I have to admit that here digitalization or digital technology start to merge. You've got a third destination, which is world-leading data and computing technologies. And as you see, I circle it in red. This is going to be one of the destinations we're going to most talk about in this webinar. Then you have the fourth technology about digital and emerging technologies for competitiveness and fit for the Green Deal. Basically, here it's emerging technology, which includes quantum, graphene, and other flagship from the European Commission, but it includes also activities related to artificial intelligence, AI, data, and robotics. So I'm going to mention it a little bit. The fifth destination is about space. And here in our structural organization with Lux Innovation, it's not me who is in charge of this one. It's not us also with my colleague. It's my colleague from the Luxembourg Space Agency who is in charge of that, Charles Koeners. So it's not something we're going to address today. And finally, the sixth destinations is about a human-centered and ethical development of digital and industrial technologies. This is also one of the places where you're going to find the most or a topic in relation with data-oriented economy. I apologize for having to read this to you, but I think it's important that at least you have them in your head somewhere to remember that we have chapter inside the cluster, and today, for the sake of time, we will not go in the entire structure of Horizon Europe. We're going to go on those three specific destinations. Also, to make it simpler, we have since 5 days, so we received them on the 28th of January, we have the tentative deadlines for the cluster 4 work programs, and you have them right in here. Basically, for the sake of this presentation, I'm going to focus mainly on the deadlines for 2021. The deadlines for 2022 will be subject for a further webinar or further discussions later in the year. Why is that? It's simply because when you see the deadline, 15th of July, 31st of August, 7th of September, and 29th of September, if you're familiar with the Horizon 2020 project building, you should start building them now. So that still represents 108 topics for 2021 just in cluster 4. Don't worry, we won't go in 108 topics today, mainly because well, you just want to kill yourself after that, and me also at the same time, and I don't want that. We're going to focus only on the one that's going to be about database economy, and we're going to make sneak peeks toward other topics which are outside Horizon Europe. But please remember, first, 4 deadlines: 15th of July, 31st of August, 7th September, and 29th of September. That means you need to make a retro planning in terms of proposal building. And you see, it's not convenient at all because it's right in the middle of the summer. But that means that if you are not starting the proposals before mid-May, well, you're going to start with a strong handicap already. Basic understanding. Let's make a deal, all of you and me. We're going to focus in this webinar only on the 2021 deadline. I'm going to focus only on the cluster 4. Also, I'm going to mention some other topic outside the cluster 4. I'd like to also say that the way we built this webinar series, the idea is to distribute the topic according to the big thematics. So some of the topics, I'm going to mention them, but I'm not going to go deep in it. Some other, I'm going to go deep in them, and you're going to see them in others. So I'd like to bring your attention about at least 3 other webinars that we're going to have. The one on digital transformation for industry on the 9th of February, so next Tuesday, if I'm not wrong. Artificial intelligence in 1 week. And financing DTAP innovation, which is about the EIC Pathfinder and everything which is about the new FET program, which is going to be on the 18th of February. So you're going to see from time to time in my presentation the name of a topic with a mention. This is going to be addressed in this webinar. So everything which is related to artificial intelligence, okay, it's related to database economy. I'm not going to deny that, but I'm not going to address it here. Finally, the last point for the deal between you and I'm not going to mention the CSA, so the coordination and support actions, because they are not where you will be able to do some technical development or innovation. I think I mentioned just one which might be relevant for some of you because I see the list, but most of the time I'm going to focus on the innovation action and the research and innovation actions. General take-ups, a fair warning if you prefer. The topics are very wide. We saw the evolution of the topics. It's emerging. The Cluster 4 work program is emerging between 3 other work programs. So we can for the first 2 years in a Frankenstein situation where we have some topics which are covering a lot of activities. And that's what I wanted to take a minute to precise something regarding this Horizon Europe projects. You should always think in terms of impact. That might be like some sort of repetition for you, but I'd like to give you an example. The means and the ways is not exactly defined in those topics. You're going to see them. What the Commission wants is to solve the problems. How you solve the problem from a technical standpoint is not exactly relevant. It is, in a way, you have some barrier put by the Commission, but those barriers are actually very, very, very large. So you can really have a lot of technical freedom for solving the solution. And the best example that I have is an example that I got from another presentation once, is about, imagine you have a city, and to cross the city, it takes you 1 hour by driving a car. What the Commission will ask you is to reduce the time for crossing the city from 1 hour to 10 minutes. That's the impact. The Commission will not care if for reducing this from 1 hour to 10 minutes, if you build a better car, a faster car, if you build a giant catapult for passing over the city, if you want to build a tunnel or a huge bridge to cross the city. The Commission doesn't care about that, but they want you to reduce the time from 1 hour to 10 minutes. So remember this example when you're going to see the topics, because some of them you're going to understand what the Commission wants to do from an impact point of view, but we won't be sure about exactly what techniques or what technical aspect is behind. And this is actually going to be left up to you. Finally, one last taper from the same space topic. If you are interested, please contact my colleague Charles Koeners from the Luxembourg Space Agencies. He's going to be the one in charge of that. And regarding for the database economy, there are quite some topics related to the data, to the use of data, specifically Copernicus and EGNOS data inside those work program. Okay, I move on. Again, what I've decided to focus on today, we're going to just scratch the surface. I've got 12 topics that I'm going to present a little bit more in details, but there is 18 topics, if I'm not wrong in my calculations, where I'm just going to mention them and say, or they are, it's going to be tackled in a different webinar, or it's going to be tackled by somebody else. So do not forget that if you want to make this webinar successful for you, I'm going to need your help. And this help is that I'm going to need you to go and read the topic. So I hope I'm going to raise the interest for you by just scratching the surface of those topics. But for in-depth and customized support, I'm going to need you to come back to me after that. I hope it's a deal. Are you still with me? Can you make some movement in the chat? Excellent. Thank you very much. So get ready. Now we drive. I'm gonna start with destination 3 because it's the one where data and computing technology is mentioned. You see the title here: World Leading Data and Computing Technologies. I'm going to start with the first topic. Let me start already by saying that all my topics presentations will be following the same structure. You're going to have somewhere on the screen, I hope you can see them. I'm going to try to write here some extra information regarding the topic itself. The first one, you have the deadlines, as well as the budget allocated to the topic. You've got here after the funding rates. So it's going to tell you if it's 70% or 100% funded. And then after you have the expected budget per project. Those information are information that you can extract from your work programs. So remember that this is always what you're going to see. So first, technology and solution for compliance, privacy preservation, green and responsible data operation. We are inside the section data sharing in the common European data space. What is exactly expecting from this? From an activity-wise point of view, this is incredibly wide topic. Here, the Commission is asking for digital technologies, methods, architecture, and processes. Basically, I'm not sure what is actually left outside this topic once you have taken techno, method, architecture, and process. But you are invited to address new trends and new approaches for those four aspects for enforcing compliance, privacy preservation, green and responsible data operation. And that when the Commission said data operation, it covers the entire spectrum of data operation. I've wrote them for you the list that the Commission gives, but actually it's really broad. Collection, storage, processing, querying, analytics, delivery. Next slide. So the purpose, the objective, the outcomes that the Commission wants is that is to facilitate the sharing and the manipulation of data while being still GDPR compliant. And that's something that the Commission really insists. You must always build the entire work inside the EU value, and GDPR is one of the policies that is the cornerstone of the entire Cluster 4. So you can develop new technologies, new methods, new architectures and processes to support the sharing and manipulation of data that are GDPR compliant. There is, when you read the text, a notion of environmentally sustainable data. So the text is explaining these notions. What does it mean is actually the Commission would like the digital world to try to make efforts in terms of reducing energy consumptions. So try to make sure that the data does not travel too far, trying to make sure that intelligence, collections and processing of the data are happen more or less at the same place on the edge of the network. Avoid to have very energy consuming algorithm. So the entire topics about those technologies and solutions for privacy preservant data operation, you should have in mind these notions of environmentally sustainable data. Finally, I'd like to point out for this topic, you should not start from scratch. The Commission has been investing in this already, namely what is called the ICT 13 project. So it's a project that has been funded and starting since 2018. There is the research infrastructure that are already existing on that. And finally, there is a digital European program data space that are supposed to be launched at the same time. So again, it's not a topic which is standalone. You should build from scratch. And if you need from scratch, you can get to meet for knowing this. So my advice here, first get familiar with the portfolio of existing initiatives and get in touch with BDVA or the AI PPP. So a quick word about that. This is just an association at European level, which is in charge of making some lobbying toward the Commission regarding the goals in charge of big data at European level. They are in a process of merging with another association, which is called EU Robotics, apologies. And they will form the AI PPP, so the AI public-private partnerships. So every topic which are related with AI will be actually emerging from these groups. And it's inside these groups that you're going to find the key stakeholders. So my advice, you want to work on compliance, privacy preservations for data operation, get in touch with BDVA. I go to the Second topic, technology for data management. Again, the Commission is just saying technologies for data management. It's not precising which technologies. So it's up to you. And here, what the Commission is expecting as would come, I'm going to read it to you, new, secure, and energy efficient data management tools. So you have technologies that can reply to that. It fits. It doesn't talk about a specific tools. It doesn't talk about if it's a tools related to just a commercial one or someone that has been developed in a specific sector or not. It just say tools in general. So it's again a wide topic. You have to try to improve the interoperability, the quality and the integrity of data, including metadata. And here, when you will read the topic, actually, you will see that the Commission is mentioning what is called extreme data. It's mentioned a little bit later on. So basically, you must build a tool which is capable of dealing with any type of data, being structured, unstructured, small volume, big volume, heterogeneous or not. So your tool must be interoperable. These projects must have demonstration activities. So you show that the tools works in at least 2 different use cases, and you should not be shy in terms of developing new business models for the data valorizations. It's kind of encouraged actually at the moment. And also if that means that you need to involve different type of users in associations or a private entity or a university or a foundations or whatever, this or even just the citizens, to have the citizen involved, you should not be shy for doing that. Finally, this topic is also in the continuity of all the previous topics that has been done before. So don't start from scratch. Get your contact with AI for EU with the ICT 48 topics, which are Network for AI Excellence. And again, also have a look at what's going on inside the Digital European Program. My advice is actually the same than for the previous topic. Get familiar with a portfolio of running initiatives. Get in touch with BDVA. Next topic. Extreme data mining, aggregation, and analytic technology and solutions. So here we reach to see what the commission called extreme data. So here again, it's a very wide topic, Frankenstein topic, if you allow me. The commission just say better technologies, tools, and solutions. So you take whatever you want for data mining. So before we had data management, that was a previous topic. Here we have data mining. You should see the definition which is given for extreme data in the text of this work program. The extreme data means basically large volume, heterogeneous, unformatted, changing real time or not real time, basically interoperable. So you should your tools and the solution that you're going to develop must face any kind of situation regarding to data. Extreme data involve also the definition in terms of where is the data compared to the networks, if it's on the edge or if it's not on the edge, if it's come from IoT devices or if it's coming from any other sources, etc., etc., etc. There is the notions in this topic of integration of different technologies. So the Commission makes a list of those technology and you can see them. So you should not focus on only one. It's really transversal technologies. And here, if you have an interest, justly go find your with your partners the complementarity in terms of technologies. And finally, this also, it doesn't start from scratch. It's in a continuation of AI for EU, but it's also in a continuation of the work that's been done by the Digital Innovation Hub's topics in the previous year. So here you have no initiatives that are in charge of coordinating the structure, or at least structuring the ecosystem, I should say. So get familiar with those projects. Again, my personal advice, spend some time to understand the ecosystem and the running project and get in touch with the AI PPP. Next topic, Future European Platform for the Age, Meta Operation System. That's the title. And here we are in a topic where it's actually more applications for the database economy is more limited. It's really at the heart, technical heart of a digital infrastructure. But basically it's to allow the data processing to bring the intelligence to the edge of a network. For those of you who are familiar with my presentation, you might have recognized these pictures on the top right of the screen, which is actually my symbol to say that this is a topic that includes cascading grants, meaning that part of the budget must be allocated to people or organizations which are not inside inside the consortium. I'll come to that in a later. So I'm trying to go to my next slide. So if I go back to the topic, what the Commission wants to develop here is next generation of operating systems. So it's a very, very, very large and very ambitious topic. The Commissions want to focus on an operating system that works for Internet of Things and for large scale Internet of Things. And the Commission wants also to take a value chain approach. So you must be able to cover the entire value chain of the data here, from the IoT device to the process for creating a new operating system. You must see this as developing distributed applications. So the Commission doesn't want any more centralized approach for this operating system, but support the development of hyper-distributed application. So you should always try to bring computations, data, and intelligence together closer to where the data is produced. So if you understand what that means that if you have a network of sensors, try to have the processing of the data generated as close as possible of the sensor. This topic is built with a philosophy of increased European autonomy. So if you have followed the news, you are probably familiar with the will of the European Commission to get more independent technologically from the US, China, Japan, or non-EU based technologies. So here you should keep that in mind in the selection of the technology you're going to work on. If it's to use, again, technology that is provided by US-based, the GAFA, or Chinese-based, or non-EU-based, you will have an handicap. Finally, here what the Commission wants to do is to create a new ecosystem, and this ecosystem should be for the open edge ecosystem. So again, here, this is in the continuation around the database economy. My advice is the same than the one before. It's not exactly, it's kind of a new topic here. Yeah, I wouldn't say this is a brand new topic because the creation of new operating system has been called in the previous projects. But here, if you get familiar with the portfolio, and if you get, again, if you network with the right people, you will find the right place for being successful. That was the 4 main topics for these destinations. So now I'm going to make a quick round about other topics that are not addressed in this webinar or that are addressed by some other people. You have this information. So when you will have the slides, you will be able after to go and find those informations. And because with the draft, with the slides, we're going to share with you the draft. Like this, you can after, if this topic raise an interest for you, you can directly go and read the topics. So I pass it quickly. I'm not going to enumerate it. And I go now directly to the destination 4. So you have the title here, Digital and Emerging Technologies. I'm not going to address the quantum topics here. It's not the purpose of this webinar. I'm not going to address graphene. I'm not going to address human brain project, but I'm going to address what is about AI, data, and robotics. And there are 2 main topics in these sections that I would like to bring your attention in relation to this webinar. It's the one which is called AI, data, robotics for the Green Deal. So here again, the Commission doesn't exactly care which technical solutions you're going to use, but the Commission wants to develop solutions that helps for the waste management, or to be more precise, for the waste reductions. And when the Commission say waste, it includes a list of sectors, but actually this list is very large also. So it can be in agriculture, in agro-food, it can be in transport, it can be in manufacturing, it can be in health, whatever. You are free to select the one you want. However, the third purpose is using data for reducing the waste, or the waste, sorry, I should say. Here, the center of the project will be about the database optimization, but around this, you're going to have the applications, and your work should be to develop the new database optimization tools. Again, the Commission is calling here for integrations and optimization of solutions. So you can have already an existing solution for that. You can not have, maybe not have yet these solutions. You can merge them. You can use different technologies, machine learning, big data, IoT, HPC, software. You can bring them together as long as it's around the data value chain. And finally, you must have industry and end users. So basically, you have at the heart of the project, you will have the data value chain, but on the outside of the project, you will have those industry, you will have those applications, and then you must have them involved. My advice for that, so it's in kind of a relation with a green deal call that closed in January. So we don't exactly have a portfolio of projects related to that, but because it's around the database economy, you can be sure that key stakeholders are among AI, the PPP, the BDVA, and EU Robotics. Also, when you will read the topics, AI, data, and robotics are merged together, but you can address just one of those technologies, if you allow me. You can just address AI, you can just address data, you can just address robotics. The description of the topic explains it why. And it's going to be more or less the same in the next topic, but in a more complex way. So, just see this new topic. Here, it's a little bit more complex because what is actually is AI, data, and robotics at works. So what the Commission wants is to have demonstration project. You should make demonstrations about how those three technology blocks, AI, data, and robotics, can help workers. And when they say workers, it's any kind of workers. It doesn't target any application. So how this AI, data, robotics help workers in their daily task? So here, the project, the topic is constructed according a 2x2 approach. So actually, you got 4 boxes, let's say, that you can focus on. The first one is you can use embedded AI, and from the Commission point of view, that means you can have robots. And the other use cases can be non-embedded AI. So again, without any robot. So you can decide to go for one or to go for the others. The Commission give a description about what it is expecting for each. So go to read for them. And then on top of that, as a second layer of reading, the Commission has decided that she wants to have 2 types of projects. One, which is about focused industry driven. So here, basically what you said, you decide with your consortium which industry application you want to demonstrate how AI helps the worker. The other type of project is a project where you do not define it, but then you have to make something interoperable and you have to make open calls, meaning you had to call for external participants to come and use your solutions and demonstrate this via cascading grants. So basically you have 4 different topics possible and you can choose which box you tick. You don't have to tick all the 4. So this is your choice. One thing which is incredibly important for this topic is that it's not a standalone topic. And the Commission doesn't want a free electron project. You must collaborate with the existing ecosystem. So with the AI PPP here. So that's why my main advice for this is get in touch with AIPPP, get in touch with BDVA, or get in touch with EU Robotics, according to your interest. You will need to build something with them. That's the only two topics I wanted to describe quite mainly in the destination 4. I'm going to just list very quickly the other topics which are in relation with database economy, but which are less relevant or less based or database oriented. There is 3 in the green, flexible, and advanced manufacturing. So you can see them here. The one that are more on robotics. And I go now to destination 6. So before going to destination 6, which is the third destination, quite in focus with the database economy, I'm going to turn for 30 seconds towards you and to see if you're still with me. I see people on the chat. Are you still there? Is it what you were looking for? And if you have any questions already, I can maybe start to answer them. So I see some message being typed. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Alexandre, I agree with you. Okay. Still there. It was quite interesting. I feel I need to do some research to understand more sometimes. Yes, and to be honest, one of the main discussion we have, Rosa, at the moment with the European Commission is that they give definitions to some of the terms. It started to do that. The new version of the draft gives some definitions. For some, it's still we're still wondering exactly what the Commission means. Slim, about your question, is it late to knock at the door of the BDVA? Yes and no. Knock at the BDVA or the AAPPP, you can always do it. And I can only invite you to do that. Now, taking the lead of a project and going at BDVA to say that you're taking the lead of the project, yeah, that might be a little bit late, specifically for the deadlines in July or August. However, I would think that at the moment it's still possible to go to knock the door at BDVA or AIPPP and say that you would like to get to have an active part in a project. You have one argument which is actually at your advantages here as Luxembourg organizations. I'm diverging a little bit here from the presentation, but I want to give this piece of advice for you. In the new legal and financial rules, when it will come for sorting out proposals which are ranked with the same scores, the Commission has bring back a new criteria or a criteria that was existing many years ago but would disappear in Horizon 2020, which is geographical distributions. So basically, if you have 2 equal projects, the one which has the most geographical distributions will be advantageous. That gives you, as Luxembourg organization, an incredible advantages, because you can go to BDVA now, you can go to those key stakeholders and key coordinator and say, look, if you take me, your project has a better advantages to be funded. And on top of that, I bring also my technologies and I bring also my expertise. So use this little hint. That's actually a very powerful arguments in the negotiations. So thank you for still being there with me. Have a drink, and while you do that, let's continue to destination 6. So destination 6 is about human-centered internet. So here you have basically the creation of an internet. Yeah, I see the comment from Lunmila. Thank you so much for that. Works also for you because you're also an associated state, but that's our argument, not yours. Okay. So back to destination 6. the Commission wants to have an internet working in Europe, which is embedded with the European values. So basically, which is embedded with trust and data preserving technologies. So one of the topics to fund that is this topic that you have, Human 0104, which is about trust and data sovereignty of the internet. So it's part of the section An Internet of Trust, and this is really in relation with the database economy. So what the Commission wants to achieve with this project, with this topic, sorry, is to increase the trust, privacy, but most importantly, the user control of the citizens when they do share their personal data on the internet. Here, we're talking about personal data. In the previous topics, we were more talking about industrial data. Okay, that did not exclude it entirely personal data before, but here we really focus on personal data. The Commission is pushing for the idea of a trusted electronic identity ecosystem. For those of you who are familiar with e-government, and I'm looking at some people in the audience at the moment, they will recognize themselves. The Commission has been investing a lot on everything which is about e-signatures, e-authentifications, etc., etc. If you have followed maybe the news, you might have on the digital ecosystem, you might have heard that some country, Italy, if I'm not wrong, wants to develop a digital identity, specifically for content control. Basically, this is the idea that is pushed for many years by the European Commission, and that now that start to become concrete. So one of the concrete outcome of this topic will be trusted electronic identity ecosystem. The idea that the Commission wants is to allow the citizen to be able to exert their GDPR rights, and at the same time also to do the data portability. GDPR has given a lot of digital rights for the European citizens. A lot of projects are already running, trying to develop tools for allowing the citizen to exert that, but this topic wants to push them even further. And finally, you should see this topic also in relations with the previous topic that I spoke with you in the destination 3, specifically the one on data spaces. So the data spaces are not personal data oriented, they are industrial data oriented, but they can address personal data, specifically the one on health. So if you can build synergies with what has been funded inside the destination 3 topics and inside the data space of Digital European Program, then you are winning, you are having a winning project here. Here, my advice, you need to network. You need to get in touch with the people that are actually going to be key in this. Those are the people that were involved in the Essence project, just to mention one. Those are the people that were involved with the ministries in charge of identity, in charge of justice department and the digital rights, and also the people that are involved with GDPR empowerment inside the member states. So you need to network, and the best place to network is again BDVA here, in my opinion. But you have some other forum which might be also interesting. If you are if you want more information, come back to me. I go to the next topic, which is this time trustworthy open search and discovering. So as you see, it has appeared on the top right. This is a cascading grant, but basically here, okay, you never get this from me, but basically the Commission wants to get a European Google. I know it's ambition. It's ambitious, sorry, and some people might not like this idea at all. But basically, what the Commission wants to have here funded is to be able to have search engine and discovery tool for information, or information discovery tool, I should say, with the EU values embedded. Basically, the one on trustworthy. So if you're familiar with the European ecosystem on this aspect, it should pop up very quickly in your mind one stakeholder for this, and it's a French-based stakeholders. More information on the private channel. So you should develop tools for search and discovering information. There is two areas that the Commission is calling for. The first one is about advanced methods. And when you read the topic, actually, what it means by advanced method is actually different type of search and discovering. The Commission wants to involve voice, natural language processing, semantics, all advanced based way of doing this search and discovery of the data, or the information, I should say. The second research area is about improving the search and discovery infrastructures. And here, we're not exactly talking about the software layer. It is important, the software layer, but not only. It talks also about all the rest of the IT architecture behind. And the clear objective of the Commission for this research area is about autonomy. So basically, you should get away, if you are interested in this topic, you should get away from the use of any technology which is US based or Chinese based or Japanese based. I mentioned just 3 countries, but actually you can expand it to any other things. So you should really have EU based technology. The purpose, the objective of the commissions for this is to have what you can read here. I summarize it by do it the European way. So this kind of emphasizes what I was just saying before. The Commission wants to develop a sovereignty and an autonomy on this aspect. We want to get away from the current mainly US-based search tools on which we are dependent. Europe is dependent. It wants to develop further. Again, here my advice is to network. Well, Berta, you put the question of what about Ecosia? That's a German-based search tool. It is one of the key stakeholders. Also, I invite you to get in touch. Also, I have to say, I have seen them less in European projects. Okay, let's say it. Quant, the French-based search engine, have been participating very actively in the last years of Horizon 2020. So if you are interested in this topic, my best advice is try to get in touch with Quant, and Quant is part of BDVA. So get again inside BDVA. I move forward. I move a little bit outside the box about the data here, and I go more on the modeling world, which is also linked to data, which is about extended reality. I took the liberty to do that because I saw in the registration list some names that were interesting in everything which is about virtual reality and augmented reality. So I took the liberty to make this parenthesis here. So one of the first topic which that I would like to mention, if I'm not wrong, there are 2, is justly extended reality modeling. So what the commission wants to do here is just a large-scale creation of extended reality models. It wants to increase the level of interactions and the human, not only the human-machine interface. Actually, the commission doesn't use that word. It uses human-computer interactions. So that's a different way. But everything here is turning around data, and more specifically the metadata. So here again, the commission is talking about methodology, tools, and processes. So it doesn't call for specific technologies. It doesn't call for a specific approach for making extending reality modeling, but it includes data analytics for AI. So that could be interesting for some of you in the database economy. Finally, it's what I was just mentioning before. The commission doesn't talk about interface here. It's really talk about human to human and human to computer extended reality interactions. So how in a virtual world I can interact with a machine, of course, but also with other human. And I know it's a field of research inside Luxembourg. I hope this will have the interest of some of you. Here, it's not a brand new topic. It's built on a lot of other initiatives that is already existing. So if you are interested in this, get familiar with the portfolio. And in this case, call me. Finally, the second topic about everything which is about media and extended reality. The Commission has launched initiatives about media data space in relating with the depth. So in this topic, the Commission wants to develop just the tools and the ecosystem for making a media data space. The Commission wants to develop what is called a European VR Media Lab. So you should understand this as some sort of digital innovation hubs for visual reality technologies. Basically, it's trying to put all the sources in the same place for testing before investing. So it's to support the new startups or the new business applications that might be emerging thanks to the VR or XR technologies, and testing them in a situation or in an infrastructure that allow it. The Commission wants to see this topic as a multidisciplinary project. So you should not be only tech guys. You should also have artists, designers, journalists, thinkers, or any other types. The Commission give a list inside the text. So you need to broaden your horizon again. And also, this is a topic that does not start from scratch. Last year, the Commission launched a large project about digital innovation hubs for media. So having all the people in Europe working on media technology working together. So my advice is just to look at these initiatives, DTICT 505, and look at what is called the STARTs. The STARTs is actually science, technology, and arts working together. There is a project which is actually running, which is called START. So I invite you to have a look at it. And you will find in them the key stakeholders for working on that. Voilà, I hope you will excuse this parenthesis about extended reality. I found it myself quite interesting, and I know some of you are about that. Other topics in these destinations are mainly related to AI. You can see them in here. They're going to be addressed at the webinar next week. So if you are interested in those, I invite you to come back to me. This is again some topics where a database economy is mentioned, but which are more focused on AI. I'm going to describe them next week. I'd like to bring your attention at least on this one, the AI to fight disinformation. It is for me quite an important topic because it links also with the security cluster. So for anyone who wants to work on these topics, I would be very interested to know if you are working on that. But again, I'm going to present it next week. Voila, that was the three first destinations, big destination, where database economy is at the heart of those destinations. Now we're going to address the three other destinations. Actually, just two, because the one on space, I'm not addressing it. But I'm going to have to make a sneak peek to some other database economy topics outside the cluster 4. But before doing that, I've been speaking for 45 minutes now. No, sorry, more than that, an hour. So I'd like to come to you. How are you doing? Can you please go to the chat and write some things how you're dealing? If you want to just kill yourself, if you still feel that it's still fine. I don't know. Maybe one of you wants to make a joke. That would be very well welcome. I hope I'm going to give you a few seconds the time I drink a little bit. And if some of you wants, you can go for a coffee now. Okay, thank you very much. Let's go back. Let's go in. That's going to be the last straight line of topics. So destination 1, climate neutral, circular, and digitized productions. As you understand, this is a topic, this is a destination, apologies, which is more oriented toward industry. So the topics I'm about to present you are topics which are actually putting the data at the heart of their industrial applications. I hope this is going to bring interest for you. So the first one is a data-driven distributed industrial environment. So you have inside this destination a session which is advanced digital technology for manufacturing. Here it addresses specifically manufacturing sectors, so production lines, processes to some extent. You must be careful, but basically. And here, the aim of this topic is to fully reach the opportunities of sharing and exploiting industrial data. So before, you remember I talked about personal data. Forget it. Here we talk about industrial data. And one of the things that the Commission wants is to succeed the turn of the sharing of industrial data. It's not a new topic. It's not a new thing inside Horizon 2020 fundings, but the commissions keep pushing it. So there is no specific area targeted inside the manufacturing sectors. So it can be for health, it can be for agriculture, it can be for mobility, the production lines can be whatever sectors you want. But what you're going to develop, the technologies and the industrial environment that you're going to develop must be multi-sectors. Meaning that means that you need to address standard and interoperability of the database distributed in industrial environments, and you must demonstrate them or at least have 2 test beds. And when I say 2 test beds, I mean just having 2 different test beds. So one in the car manufacturing lines, the other one in the health line. Something that the Commission is insisting also, it is not mandatory. I'd like to mention that the technologies to be addressed are about data driven, but it doesn't specify the different technologies. The one thing that the Commission would like to see is the update of 5G technologies and specifically private 5G networks inside a manufacturer. So the idea is to have a local 5G networks. I think that's kind of understandable, working only for the industry. I took the liberty to pick it up here because, as you probably know, this is something that is quite important for Luxembourg. We have our 5G action plans. It's quite in line with it. And here, if you can develop justly an entire industrial environment based on the data, but using the 5G technology, not only you would have good advantages for the funding, but you're going to have also a good interest at Luxembourg level for making it work, which means extra funding that may come from somewhere else. This is also something that are existing for a while. Do not start from scratch. There are projects that are already working on the data sharing on the data sharing platforms for industry. You also have some projects that have been launched for developing industrial operating system or operating system for industry, I should say. So get in touch with BDVA, get in touch with EFRA because it's industry oriented, and look at the portfolio of already running project. And I'm happy to say that for some of those portfolio, we have Luxembourg organizations that are involved in this. So here, Luxembourg has a very strong positions for starting something in it. That's the only one topic I wanted to show you to show you in this destination. I see a question also for digital twinning, not 5G related. Yes, it's part of the digital twin. Also, digital twin is mentioned, but it should not be stop only at that. So digital twin is one of the technology, or one of the approaches, I should say, instead of technologies, is one of the approaches that is recommended by the text. But you will see that there is other different aspects. The heart should be the data based. So you should always think in terms of data value chain. That links with the digital twins, obviously, but not only. I hope I replied to your question, Berta. If not, I will be happy to discuss with you on one-on-one. Other topics that are in this destination that might be of interest for you, which are data-based, are the one that you see them. I've give a little explanation each time about what it means. If there is a use of large data sets and analysis, industrial data exchange, etc. You've got the information about, excuse me, the deadlines, the budget, and the format. The first one on AI enhanced robotic system for smart manufacturing We're going to address it next week. So I can only invite you to join us again for this. I'm going to pass. If I go in a different sections inside the same destination, there is also this topic about artificial intelligence for sustainable agile manufacturing. We're going to discuss it next week. Other topics that might be of interest for Luxembourg, and I'm looking mainly at lists here. I apologize for the other, but it's about everything which is a new way to build, accelerate disruptive change in construction sectors. I know this has some interest. Here there are some topics which is turnaround data-based economy. I hope this will have your interest. To be honest, I don't know. Those topics are more related to my colleagues. So I hope they're going to be addressed more inside their webinar. If not, well, you can always come back to me and we will try to give you the information that you're looking for. Finally, and this is a topic which is addressed by my colleague Stefano, you probably have already heard it if you have attended one of the past webinar, is about the hubs for circularity. And here deploying industrial urban symbiosis solution. I'm not going to dwell too much in this topic because it's Stefano's, but here you have everything which is about data management for IoT and IT infrastructures for creating hubs of circularity. So please refer to the webinar. I change destinations. I go to the destination 2. Increased autonomy in key strategic value chain for resilient industry. Here is a topic, is a destination which merge more industry and digital. The previous destination was really industry. This one is kind of a merge of the two. Fair warning for these destinations, many of the topics are for 2022. So there will be a lot of interest for a database economy project, but might be not this year, maybe next year. Nevertheless, I wanted to mention very briefly this because I know it's also of interest for some of the people inside the audience, which is about the Sustainable Industry Commons. It's part of the section Materials and Data Cross-Cutting Actions. So here we're getting really away from the topic on digitalization. We are really around the topics about materials, but basically it's about developing an ontology based on the data documentation in the material sectors. I'm not going to dwell too much. You're going to see again some common words that has been used in this area: FAIR, EOSC, and European Data State. Again, my advice if you want to work to that is get familiar with the ecosystem because the stakeholders are very, very limited and you can find them very quite easily. Destination 5, which is about space. I'm sorry, it has a very long name, but it's about space. I'm not going to address it because it's tackled by my colleague Charles Koeners from the Luxembourg Space Agency. There are some topics here. I just want to take 1 minute to say there are some topics about Copernicus, IGNOS, large data set used from space platform. When I say space platform, that could be the satellites, that can be the space infrastructure on the ground segment. There are some room here, but they're going to be addressed at a later stage. I would like to spend the last minutes about what is outside the cluster 4, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek about what is in cluster 1 and cluster 5. Cluster 1 is health. There is, for example, a topic about data-driven decision support tools for better health and care delivery for policy making. I do not have all the information here because this is a draft that is at a less developed stage than the one for cluster 4. My colleague Charles is the one that can give you the best advice about it, and we are sharing together. So if you are interested to have information, don't hesitate to get back to me. I'll be happy to put you in contact with Charles. You have also, for example, in cluster 5, you got other topics about, for example, the sustainability of batteries. You might have heard in the recent news that a new initiatives have been launched by the European Commission on batteries, the battery partnerships, it's called. Well, actually, it's called something different, but whatever. Here, AI, big data, and everything which is about database sharing information is also part of these topics. So You have outside the cluster 4, you have many other topics which can be of interest if you want to work in a database economy. I don't have an example here, but you have some, for example, for environment, you have them for energy, you have them for security. I know this might be frustrating for you to hear because you were probably hoping to have the entire mapping of that. Well, we are working on it. We are working on it about making a mapping of the topics which are related to all the section of the webinar that we are in charge of. So the topics related to database economy, the topics related to the AI, for example, and all that. The issue, I must ask for your patience because since we still are in a draft phase, this mapping doesn't make sense before we have a crystallizations of the draft. We will build this mapping and we will share it with you to help you to find more easily where are the possible synergies or where you can be working. It's just that at the moment, if I share it with you, you might come back to me in 2 weeks and saying that you don't find the topics because this topic has disappeared in a new draft of the specific cluster. So be aware we're going to build this mapping. Be aware it's not yet available, or at least it's not a 100% certified one, but we will put it at your disposals in the wake of all this webinar series. And I hope it's going to be of help for you for selecting where you want to put your efforts. I'd like to mention finally some other place outside Horizon Europe where you might find your interest for a database economy topic. You have the Digital European programs. Here you have an entire sections about data. You've got Euro HPC, of course, which is more focusing on the HPC infrastructure, but where data is also including. For those of you who were in charge of, who were familiar with Excel, Excel is evolving. It's becoming the key digital technology joint undertaking. We still doesn't have a draft for this one. The commission is said that they will share the draft in March. So we know that the data valuation is part of it. We will also have this time. Normally, they said it's going to be launched end of February, but so we don't know if we're going to have the draft before mid-March about everything which is smart networks and services. Traductions for you, that means 5G and 6G technologies. And finally, there is a Connecting Europe facilities, which is about the program supporting the network connections in Europe. So really at networks level. Here, you might find your interest in the data-based economy. The only thing in that at the moment in the ecosystem of Luxembourg, Lux Innovation is not in charge of those programs. So we try to get as much information it has and to share with you as much as we know. But for some of them, you will need to get in touch or with the Ministry of Economy or with the SMC ministry, or sometimes with the digitalization ministry. So it's not us who are in charge of this. Just do not forget they exist, and that can broaden your horizon of opportunities. Finally, I think you understand that we're arriving at the end of this presentation. The Horizon Europe has made an evolution in terms of how the proposals are evaluated. It's not exactly a revolution. It doesn't exactly change. It's not converged yet also, so we cannot tell you already know what will be the new things inside the evaluations. We hope we might be able to give you this information in one of the last webinar we're going to have, so stay tuned for that. But we can only advise you the best way to learn fast how you should build a proposals, and a successful proposal is to yourself become an expert. So like this, you will participate yourself to the evaluations. You will see the briefing that the commissions do for the expert. You will see what the other people around you has done for building a new Horizon Europe proposal. So I can only invite you to go to the Funding and Tender portal of the European Commissions and to register yourself as an expert. That's the best way for a quick learning. Voila, that's conclude my presentation about the database economy. As you have understood, it's just a scratch. As you have understood, more information will come after this webinar and in the coming weeks. We're going to share with you the draft. We're going to share with you this presentation. We're going to share with you the mapping of the topics once we have it consolidated. Meanwhile, those topics, for some of them, need early preparations. Some of them require you to already mobilize yourself and to start networking with the key stakeholders. So we wanted to inform you. I wanted to inform you about this opportunity. I wanted you to be ready in case you want to one of those topics is a top priority for you. So this is where I stop my presentations, and this is where I go toward your questions or comments if you have any. I thank you for your attention. I hope you're still alive, and I can only invite you to share a drink with me. Back to you. Thank you very much, Bertha. Thank you very much, Slim. Is there any questions? I'm going to give you a few more seconds. I see no questions in the question tab. Okay. So thank you very much for your attention. I can only say, come back to me if you want to discuss more about this. Know that we scratch the surface. We need to go deep in a customized approach, and that will depend on you. We look forward to work with you together. Don't forget to join. Our next webinar if you are interested in some of the topic I mentioned. This will conclude, I think, this webinar, and I just say goodbye and have a nice evening.